Hello. Today I found something that was very interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys. It is very peculiar in the Bible, and it mentions this verse that I'm going to expose is very peculiar, and it mentions something that really astonished me when I read it. In Job 38:32, it says the following: "Can thou guide Arcturus, which is a red supernova star, with his sons?" What shocked me about this verse was actually that it said that Arcturus had sons. Now, this is very interesting because I know of nuclear fusion, but I'm not quite sure about nuclear fission happening on stars. According to this verse, Arcturus has sons, which are similar, same in nature. In the verse, the word sons means same as in nature, so they have to be stars as well. And that kind of got my attention because I've seen, I know star formation from fusion point of view, but I've never actually thought about fission point of view, which is, I'll explain in a second. Now let's see some interesting facts about the star called Arcturus. First of all, it's the fourth brightest light in the sky at nighttime. Okay, it's a variable star, and it's a giant orange star which has a K 1.5. If you're an astronomer, you will know this. And it's also a substellar star formation, according to some scientists. It is a very massive star, and if this is Arcturus right here. Our sun is this dot right here. So Arcturus is a massive star, and as we know, astronomers are trying to decipher how large superstars are formed, because they are so massive that they need more energy concentrated inside them in order to fusion consequently well. Now, stars are formed of 90% hydrogen and 10% helium. Fusion acts that it contrasts in the nuclear core all the hydrogen, and the hydrogen creates heavier elements when it's burning. So hydrogen will form helium, and helium will form other heavier elements after that, and that's how you have bigger elements in this universe. And it's because of nuclear reactions that happen, and this create different compositions really with heavier elements. So you need stars to burn in order to create these elements. Now, interestingly about this is that the difference between nuclear fusion and nuclear fission are one in essence. In the sun, it's more about nuclear fusion, even though there is some fission on it. It's more about fusion. What is fusion? Is that the two atoms, okay, get together and they fuse, okay. Meanwhile, for example, it's more a natural process, by the way. Meanwhile, the fission is actually that the atom, the neutron hits the atom and splits it in two, okay, and this creates energy release. So the energy releases once the neutron hits the atom, and this creates an energy disperse. This is how we get fission. Now, in order for Arcturus to have fission and not fusion, which is again the most common thing, you need to understand how this star works. Arcturus has, let's put it this way, 3 brothers, or as the Bible says, sons. Let's put it sons better, because I'm not too sure about brothers, but they are similar in composition. Arcturus and Aldebaran, okay, Aldebaran are very similar. They are in the same constellation, which is the bosom constellation, and Pollux, which is another huge red star, orange star, pretty much. They have all the same composition. The interesting part about this is the oscillations that pass through Arcturus to Aldebaran all the way to Pollux are relatively said to have substellar objects around them, which means that perhaps they have planets surrounding them. But according to some scientists, it's not really that there are planets, there's not any substellar objects, but what's happening is that around these three stars, the oscillations that happen between each other is because the forces of gravity of these three red giant or orange giant stars attract each other in strange ways. Now, if the Bible is saying the truth, and it says that Arcturus has sons, because Arcturus has sons, which means that Arcturus would have to be the original source for these other consequent stars, such as Aldebaran and also Pollux, to be part of the same first source. Well, what happened is this. If hydrogen, let's say there's fusion, okay? And interestingly, gravity is a very strange, it's a very strange force, which is relatively weak. I mean, magnetic forces are millions of times stronger than gravity. But for massive objects, gravity seems to work perfectly. I mean, not considering that there's dark matter and dark energy, but let's just say there's gravity. I approach it this way, and I think this, in some sense, makes a lot of sense. If you have a ball of gas and fire, which is pretty much what the sun is, okay, and let's say it's floating, okay, because of gravity, and I get a force and I split the force of the ball, which is a ball of fire. If the two forces of the ball of fire is split, then that means that I have two sources that are split from one source. So if I had a ball of fire, and again I split it fast enough, I would create two subsequent forces from that original ball of fire. So we have two balls of fire now. And both balls of fire, by the way, would technically not get close to each other, because the magnetic forces perhaps would pull them away rather than attract them, because there will be different sides now. Now, if you did it once again, if you split once again one of the subsequent two balls of fire that came from the first one, you would still get a third one from the original one. So, in other ways, so if this was A, and this was B, and this was C, so we have 1, 2, 3. A, if you split A, you would get, so first of all, you have 1, and you split A, you would get B equals 2 MA plus B, because when you split A, you get A and B, so you get two different balls of fire. This perhaps could create a binary star, but if you split it again, you would get C equals 3, because C will be the third star that's formed out of A, and this would create that the division of 3 would be A plus B plus C. So you have three subsequent stars, A, B, C, that were original from the source, which was A. So if truly Arcturus has suns, you would need a fission force to create such thing, and that would explain why all these three stars are actually almost the same composition, and even though there are some differences. For example, Arcturus has a brightness 110 times stronger than the sun, but it's because of the mass. And yet, like, we are getting three different objects from one original source. So fission could really happen, and if this is really, which is very interesting, is the Bible says it calls Arcturus has suns, which means that all these three stars, Aldebaran and Pollux, actually probably, it's very interesting that they are the same composition, almost the same composition, and they are almost in the same constellation, and yet these three stars are the same as Arcturus. So it is very possible that Arcturus is the source, the primary source, which Aldebaran and Pollux came originally from. If fission, you need a strong force to create that. So it's totally possible, and that makes the Bible a very interesting and